Well, I was there. I was there for a while, and then I left. So, because I didn't know if anybody was going to show up, and I had other things on my list. So
I hear
I
you.
went. And now
All right.
today you came early.
Oh, well, was it 2 o'clock? It's just 2 minutes to two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's what's been happening?
Well, let's see. I've put together a causal loop diagram for evolutionary systems,
Okay.
and, and I've got part of it running in NetLogo.
You show it to us today?
I can.
Good. Well, we'll see if anybody else shows up.
Right. Right. Yeah, I'm heading off for doing traveling the next couple of weeks, so I'll probably not be signing in,
Well,
but definitely when I come back.
okay. Okay.
Are you going to record your June 11 meeting? That
Yeah.
okay?
Yes.
I signed up for that. I may or may not be able to make it.
Well, all of the people who signed up will get a copy of the recording.
Excellent.
And and I think they're likely to get a copy of the recording in a method that they're not expecting.
No,
And even I wasn't expecting until just this absolute instance.
okay.
I've been playing with a new piece of software called what's it called? It's called
Get
what
recall
is
dot
it?
AI.
Recall. Yeah, recall.ai.
Get recall
Yeah,
dot
get
AI.
recall because Microsoft has a product called recall.ai and
Oh,
they're nowhere near similar, but
there's two different ones. There's recall dot AI and recall dot AI, huh?
get
Or get
recall.ai
recall.
is a knowledge base.
Okay, right.
And I think about 36 hours now, I think I've been playing with it.
Oh,
I'm addicted, and it only took me one video to get me addicted.
wow.
And
Hey, Bruce.
Bruce isn't quite here yet,
Okay. Oh,
but
there
there
he
he
is.
is. Hi, Bruce.
I've been finding with the
Hi,
Zoom
Bruce.
hour now, so
So I said, 36 hours to become unbelievably addicted to getrecalled.ai.
oh,
That's
And
fantastic.
and I have a meeting with the developers next week, and I have a long list of questions.
Oh, that's
And
great.
um, it, I do an awful lot of surfing on the web,
Hmm.
and it makes it so easy to capture things. And when it captures them, it will automatically create you a concise or a detailed summary of whatever it was that you captured, whether it was a web page or an article or a PDF or a YouTube video or whatever. It automatically creates you a summary and it weaves it all together
Wow.
so that it creates a network of relationships. And it also will create a set of flashcards on the content so that it will quiz you on the content and keep track of how many you get right or wrong.
That's scary.
And the ones that you get wrong, it will show to you again. And it automatically does spaced repetition for a day, a week, a month. And just, oh, and once you actually capture something and it creates a summary, it will use AI to allow you to interrogate the content so
Good
you can
grief.
ask it questions about the content. And this piece of software is $7 a month.
Wow.
Okay. I mean, I'm just, messed up. I'm blown away. And if you're interested, write down this code Nova 30, all caps,
Okay.
NOVA 30, which
Okay.
is a 30% off.
Ah,
Nova is in caps.
Yeah. And what site was that, Gene?
GetRecall.ai.
Okay, we'll see if we can find that. Wow, that's a pretty impressive sequence of operation.
Yes, and and what bothers me more than anything is their first major release was 10 months ago, and I missed it for
Oh,
10 months. But they just had a major update on May 25th, which was 4 days ago.
oh, okay.
Um, and mm, so, did either of you catch the story that I posted through Substack
I
yesterday?
I saw it come up and I have myself a note to go look at it, but I haven't made it there yet.
yes,
So
I
it
read it,
was
Jane.
okay. So I sent that story to the developers of Get Recall,
Okay.
and they sent me back a note this morning and said you made my day. And they posted the link to the story on X because they
No.
were so taken with it. So, but I said I was so taken with it that I actually went and did one of my conversations about the features and functions of recall, and then I asked it to write me a story about the
Mhm.
adoption, the way that the future would unfold for someone adopting the the features and benefits of recall. And I
Wow.
think it started in 2035 and went forward from there.
No.
And yeah, it was, I liked it. They liked it. You might like it too.
Well, I thought so. When I first read it, I couldn't quite think of the quote for my first response, and then I found it, and I responded as a second response or comment, which is "Here be dragons."
Oh, yeah, right. I remember that one.
Yes, and yeah,
Yeah.
we're in a whole new world. We're not in Kansas
Well,
anymore.
we can be in a whole new world, but we actually have to take advantage of the things that are there in the Brave New World as opposed and stay out of the quicksand.
Yep.
Yep.
So speaking of quicksand, I saw a video on quicksand the other day. Come to find out that contrary to popular belief, you can't sink all the way down and cover your head in quicksand.
Right.
Once you get down to about your waist, you begin to float so that you won't go any deeper, regardless of
That's
how
good.
much you flounder around it.
Oh, that's
And
encouraging.
and there's a way to get out of the quicksand all by yourself
Mhm.
if you understand it. And it's just so
It's the swimming thing, isn't it?
you sort of have to stand still with one leg and you sort of wiggle the other leg around, lifting it up slowly,
Mm.
okay, until you actually get that leg out. And then you do the same thing with the other leg.
And
Oh,
essentially at that point you're laying down in it, so you're not sinking.
Right. So see,
okay.
it's just stuff just connects. We're talking about getting from AI to quicksand. It's crazy. People listen to this video, they'll think we're all crazy. Um, so David said he was going to do a demo today. You interested, Bruce?
Sure. Yeah, I got a demo of a bump yesterday.
Oh, okay.
It's Ken's
Yeah.
product. Very interesting.
He's been working on it for quite some time, apparently,
Yeah,
because it's
got
there's a lot of stuff there.
a ton of functionality in it. Yeah, I'm not sure how it's all connected yet, but my goal is to try it out this week.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, and after you do that, you can tell us what you think.
Yeah. Yep.
So take it away, David.
Okay, let me see if I can figure this out. I go to share at the bottom of the Zoom thing, and I think I
And
can then.
you can share your screen, or you can share a window, or you can select a
Ah,
space on your screen that you want to share.
okay, let me see what I can find here. Um, Let me see here. Um, well, okay, this is something I have not done before with Zoom. Okay, I'm not think I'm
That's all
trying to
right.
get to my I'm trying to get to my screen.
Well, when you click share, it will
Yeah.
pop up with a window and show you all of the things that you can share.
Well, it's once whiteboard. Um, uh, well, this is a learning. This is certainly a
Okay.
learning process here.
Next time it'll be easier.
Oh, exactly, exactly. Um, yeah, I can't seem to. I'm just trying to figure out how to share a PDF. Um,
What? When you click on share, this
yeah,
window pops up and
right.
it shows you a number of
It's
screens on your desktop. So you can either share your screen itself or you can share an application window. There you go. See?
yeah.
So you shared your window.
Ah, here we go. I think. Okay, is that sure? I
Oh,
am.
we got it. Yep.
Oh, okay, okay, great. Yeah. So this is a um a very simplistic causal loop diagram for an evolutionary system.
Okay.
And I kind of based it initially on the limits to success or limits to growth archetype.
Okay.
And that's where we see propagation or differentiation of leading to performance being selected. If it's selected, then there's some retention and amplification of the winners. If the performance is subpar, it might go extinct or just simply collapse. If it collapses,
Okay.
it could have a second chance. Like for example, a company coming out of bankruptcy, or a person recovering from a heart attack. Um, and then going back on the far left, the evolution is either planned or unplanned. Um,
Okay.
and so then we have there's limits on the far right hand side. Limits The limits and constraints are found in our physical environment, the economic environment, social, technological, political, and competitive, and same with the influencers um, that affect propagation or variation with differentiation. So that was kind of my simplistic model at this point.
The best kind.
Yeah, yeah, and so yeah, I, after reading, certainly lots and lots of articles on evolution, looking at four different kinds of systems, four different categories of systems, being artificial, biological, natural, and social. Um, and this whole notion of generalized Darwinism, that's always been intriguing to me. And I've written a couple of papers, had a couple of things published, and this is kind of where I am at this point in my life with a causal loop diagram. And so taking that, I've tried to put it into NetLogo. and I've used Perplexity and ChatGPT and Gemini and Copilot, and I've tried to then at least put together various snippets of information. And so I have a very simplistic working model in terms of it actually working in NetLogo. And as I fiddle with it some more, I'll add more code to it, more possible steps and traits and that kind of thing. So that's kind of what I've been playing around with um, for some time. As I previously mentioned, I've written about a 300 and some odd page set of slides, slide deck really, uh, that I'm happy to provide to anyone. And I've actually tried to publish it on a Creative Commons license. But yeah, it's just a collection of notes and thoughts and over the years, and I've actually developed courses on this stuff for my PhD classes. Well, not real highly developed PhD classes, but nonetheless they were successful. And so yeah, this is kind of where I am at this point in time, putting all this stuff together.
So do you have something in that logo?
I do, and if I can make this thing work. Let me see what I can find. Does this show up?
Yep.
Hey, fantastic. So, well, okay. Let me see here. This is, are both of you familiar with NetLogo?
I'm
A
not,
little
so I'm
bit.
gonna first look at it.
Okay, let me see if I can't move this out of the way. Ah, there we go. Out of the way here. Ah,
Yeah.
okay, let me see here. Okay, so here's the code. This is the NetLogo code. And what I'm trying to do here is to create a general evolutionary algorithm based on these metal processes. And so I can clear everything out, uh, provide some initial conditions through some variables, and then actually the runtime is here. I mean, there's a set of turtles. Let me go back here to the interface. So
Mhm.
there's a set of turtles that show up here. So
Yep.
if I hit setup, so in this case here, I've got a count of 10 turtles, and I've colored them red with a size of 2. And so the code then to make them move is here's a subroutine called move, and this randomizes their right positioning and then steps forward. And then there's some interaction, which for this software right now it's optional. Um,
Mhm.
Everything has to live, so there's some expenditure of energy. And if we go down here to that code here, if I can, where am I here? Okay, that might be muted out. So then I can go to selection, propagation, collapse, and extinction. And oh yeah, so here's expend energy. So this is just setting the initial cost of energy in terms of a data point.
Mhm.
And then we can check on the fitness of each individual. And the fitness right now is in terms of energy.
Mhm.
And in propagation, that means selection with, or excuse me, replication with variation, reproduction with variation, however we want to look at it. And so given a certain set of energy in that system, we can give this a reproduction. We'll set the offspring to an energy level of 5, move them around, make sure they're still alive. We can set the traits of the offspring to their parent, their parent traits,
Mhm.
and then we can keep their traits within limits. And if the energy level drops below 0, they die.
Yep.
They go extinct. If the energy level goes between, say, 0 and 1, or whatever values we choose to give it, they will let them continue to live, but with a new energy of just 2. So if you go bankrupt, you don't get the full blown
Right.
stock value back. You get something back,
Mhm.
and then you can continue, and so on and so forth. And again, this is very simplistic, but if we go to the interface here, we can click on setup, and then we can hit go. And let me see here. Blow that up a little bit here. So every time here we can see the number of ticks. That's a time frame, and
Yep.
for the time being, we'll call that a generation. And we go another generation. Well, nothing is being reproduced at this point in time, but we can look at the energy level. We can continue to work our way through it here, and now we have a 14 count. And let me just put this down here. We can look here at if we have the good enough energy. Right now, all 14 turtles have enough energy. Nothing is extinct and nobody has collapsed. And we can just kind of continue to work our way through this. And we can kind of see that they're alive. The color here, the color gradient, the darker the color, the more fit they are.
Mm. Okay.
And that's all that means. Now over here we can say set up, say, an initial population of, say, 10 or 80. We have a sliding scale of what the initial population starts out with. We can set the mutation rate, or how strong that mutation is. We can establish some kind of initial energy, and what the selective pressure is. So we can kind of begin to do all this stuff and make some sense. It takes a little while to kind of make some sense out of it. But so this is where I kind of am with this process of trying to take a causal loop diagram, use a little bit of AI and what I know about math and physics and biology to begin to actually construct the code
David,
to begin
can
to.
you go back to
Yes,
the model and tell it to run on its own without you continuing to press the go button?
I can. I can go back here, for example, and I can click and edit the go button, and I can say run it forever.
No.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
And so we just set, and then this time here we've got 100 turtles to run with, and we'll just let it run.
Okay.
Okay. That's a that's a limits to growth extinction event.
Yeah,
Uh,
at this point, yeah,
I think you're into overpopulation.
yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, there's definitely some constraints I need to add to it, like the carrying capacity. There's a whole bunch of things I need to add to it,
Okay.
and but it's kind of fun to play with.
Yeah.
I would think so.
Hmm.
So yeah, and then I've over here I've started to begin to graph, try and graph some things. I
Yep.
haven't got that to figure out yet, but I'll start grafting things. I want to add the carrying capacity, and that I think could change a lot of things too.
Right. Oh, interesting.
So how much of you said something about having AI write some of the code for you?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Basically, I got an outline, probably of this code that was written. Probably 80% was successful with AI.
Hmm.
And if I use Copilot or Persplex, Perplexity or Gemini, I get different models, different sets of code.
Mhm.
And so this was mostly done with Gemini. I find Gemini and Perplexity being uh, best off for generating net logo code. And
Okay.
so once I had it generated and actually beginning to actually function a little bit, Then I went in and started writing more code, documenting it, trying to clarify it. Then I had to rebuild. I had to build the entire interface to the code.
Mhm.
And so I've probably done 20%, and different AIs have done um, the rest. But it certainly got me started.
So couldn't you take the code after you modify it? In other words, you take what the AI gives you and you add stuff to it. Could
Right.
you then go ahead and simply copy it all and paste it back in the AI and ask it to do enhancements on it?
That could be. I'll try that. I haven't done that yet, but that's certainly something worth trying.
Because
Uh, there's
it's
also a library called COMSIS, COMSES. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's kind of a database of hundreds of NetLogo models.
mm,
So it's kind of like sort of like kind of a four man's um, GitHub for NetLogo.
Mhm.
mm, okay.
But yeah, I like the idea, Jane, of being able to feed it back into AI and see what it'll do with it.
Yeah. In fact, if you do that, I assume you can get it to extend rather than
Yeah,
code right.
which is what I'd like to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd like
Yeah.
to play with it a lot more and do with it. So I'm learning a lot about NetLogo and modeling.
So the a piece of JavaScript HTML code that I have that
Uh-huh.
generates my causal loop diagrams
Oh, okay.
is probably in Rev 15 or 20. So that I'd
Mm,
spend some time with it and
hmm.
continue to ask it to add pieces, and then I'd go ahead and save the code.
Good
And
idea.
2 days later, I'd come back and load the code and ask
Uh-huh.
it some more questions and do some more evolution. And every
Okay.
time I got a version that did something that I liked, I saved it.
Good. Yeah, I like
Uh,
that. Well, that's
so
evolution in action.
because I just I you can only go so far till you get tired. Okay,
Yes.
and continuing doesn't make a lot of sense. But you go away and think about it for a couple of days, and and then you go
Hmm.
back. And so
Well, I
I've
think yeah, I like that approach too because I know I'll go away for a couple days because I'm tired of it too, and then I'll come back and oh yeah, I could add this and that. So somehow your brain is co-evolving
uh,
with what you're doing.
so I would put the NetLogo code in a text file and load the text file as opposed
Okay.
to pasting the code in.
Mm,
Okay.
okay. Okay. That's a good tip.
Well, it's a good tip if it works.
Oh, okay. Well, that's always true.
So yeah, I mean, the so it gets old working in an environment that develops the code, and then you have to put the code someplace else to see if it works. Uh,
Uh-huh.
which is why I was working with the HTML JavaScript because Gemini Canvas would actually run and display that in the browser.
Okay.
I didn't have to go somewhere else. Now
Right, right.
I understand the utility of the environment that you're working in because it gives you this visual uh,
Hmm.
uh, pretty neat.
And it's free.
Okay.
and and it's a relatively high level. And right, it's very useful for exploring the dynamics of systems.
And in the process, you may learn some things about net logo code, right?
Oh, absolutely. One of the things that one of the things I did, Jane, a few weeks ago was to take. I've always wondered about the system archetypes, Lemon Success, Tragedy of the Commons, and so forth. And I was finally able, with AI and a little help, to generate the net logo code that will actually simulate those causal loop archetypes.
Okay.
And I found that to be an interesting exercise.
Yeah, because if you look at any of those archetypes in some simulation software, some system dynamics, stock flow modeling stuff, all you get is a two-dimensional visualization of how the curves change.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in NetLogo, you get an added dimension of seeing the pieces interact, okay, and see how
Mm-hmm.
it evolves over time, as opposed to simply seeing a curve of the population and the number of extinctions and those things.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah. You begin to learn more about the dynamics. All right, and um, yeah, it it's certainly interesting.
Good. Anything else you want to say about it? I mean,
Um,
we
Not
don't
much
need to
more.
cut you off.
No, that's fine. I'm not sure there's much more I can do. I can run another quick
Start with
setup
start
here.
with start with a smaller population and
Push it down to say population of say 10 and a low mutation rate, but high selection. See where we go. Whoa, it didn't take long.
but you notice that the color is all red.
Yeah,
Not a lot of your
A lot of
individuals
individuals.
really well off.
nope, no. Well, they went from 10 to 13,000 in a very short in within 44 generations. So we
Prolific suckers, aren't they?
yeah, well, we'll drop down the selective pressure a little bit. Um, Drop down let's see what we get. Whoa,
What
boy,
is that?
a lot of extinction. They didn't last long. Definitely collapsing. So yeah, it you can play with these variables here, the sliders. Um, yeah, well, I guess I had energy really high. So if I start out with a really high energy, they just all died really quickly. They had way too much energy to survive. They exploded.
An interesting
Whoa. So yeah, but the thing is, trying to take all these variables, um, there's only six, but just trying to analyze all of the data that the combinations, and it
Mm.
gets to be a little tricky.
sure.
Like, what am I really looking at after a while?
Mhm. Well, you
So,
ought to be able, I mean, some of these points ought to be leverage points, right?
well, they could be, yeah,
At which point you could try to determine which lever points are
right,
critical.
right, definitely.
Huh. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, because where it turns to be a green circle is the collapse point. And yeah, I mean, it definitely takes a little time to. I want to take a lot more time, a little bit more time anyway, and make sure this what I'm looking at is actually uh, seems real,
Right. Hmm.
and then I can maybe add more code to it and send it back through AI and see what we get.
Just take a here's one for you.
Pardon?
Take a screenshot of the output of this model and feed it to one of the AIs as an
Okay.
image
Mm,
and ask them to describe what it's looking at.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Good
right.
question. Good question. I
Well,
can do
so,
that.
somebody posted a model on LinkedIn, and I
Uh-huh.
grabbed an image of the causal loop diagram and dropped it into Gemini and asked it to explain the model to me.
Okay.
And it did quite well.
Hey, well, that's great. Okay. Well, I'll do that. It's a good question to ask.
And maybe it tells you something meaningful, and maybe it
Maybe
says,
not.
"Are you, are you clueless?"
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing some interesting net logo code for artificial life,
Mm.
which has been another interesting topic of mine to play with. A- And I've developed some simple climate change models. And one of my students actually, for her PhD dissertation, used NetLogo to generate a climate change model for South Africa. And she put a lot of time in on that. And fortunately, was able to not only graduate with her doctorate, but she was able to go to a major conference, I guess, on climate change in Europe and present her findings.
What? She couldn't
Um,
graduate?
Oh no, well she no, she had to no, she graduated. No, she did fine. She was really one of
Oh,
my top students. She was one of my top students. But so I probably didn't say that correctly. But yeah, she developed a climate change model, a really sophisticated climate change model in NetLogo for her country of South Africa.
and did she determine that South Africa was terminal?
Well, I think the world is terminal, but yeah, but yeah, in her case, yeah, South Africa, yeah, not in the best of shape. They have serious water supply problems and other resource constraints. In fact, the world is going to have a lot of um, issues with climate change.
As
But again,
you
it's just
as you go over the edge of the falls and say, "Oh shit, it's too late."
yep, that's very true. All true.
And until that point, lots of people just aren't willing to believe reality.
No, no, they can't accept it for whatever reason. They just don't care to accept it.
Well, it's like all these people that
I, some of it was built.
smoking.
Some
Go
of it
ahead,
was
Bruce.
accepted. Some of it was built on the acceptance that technology really could save us. We didn't need to think about it.
Well, we do. And my guess is initially you're going to start seeing vulnerable populations die off,
Mhm.
and then you'll see the next set of vulnerable populations die off until uh, well, as a climate scientist, I had some interesting conversations with many years ago. Said he's not worried about climate change because after enough people die off, we'll stop putting up CO2.
Right. Yeah. Mhm.
You
Sort
Plants
of a bit
plants
of
will
a
grow back and
yeah,
we'll
right,
readjust.
right.
Right.
you had any David? You had any conversations with Mark Trexler?
I don't know the person.
Wow, you
Mark who?
should. Mark Trexler.
I do not know the name.
He's
But I will look him up.
been chief climate knowledge strategist.
Okay. Mark Truxler.
Trexler. Find him on YouTube.
I will look him up.
Here, I'll give you a link right here.
Oh, okay.
Where's chat? Okay, can't find chat.
Okay. Oh, thank you.
There he is, right there.
Okay.
He's been
Ah,
developing a climate web database for decades now.
ah,
Nice guy.
okay. Excellent. Thank you. Yeah. So anything else I can show you with this model, or should we have Bruce give
Yeah, I
time
can,
for Bruce to fit in?
With whatever works. I don't have an
Okay.
agenda.
I don't have a specific question for this at the moment, or
O-
for you about how it was
Okay.
put together. Uh,
Well, give me a couple more weeks and I'll have more to say.
sure, yeah.
Well,
Looks
let's
like
go
it's
on to
got the
Bruce.
potential to grow
Okay.
pretty quickly.
Mark
Okay.
Trexler.
So I can do the same. I took some of Gene's comments from last week and set Gemini onto trying to do some analysis of the various systems engineering uh, historical thinkers.
Uh-huh.
And let me do a screen share here. Uh, let's see. Do you need to unshare before I can do anything? I think you might. Oh no,
Oh,
there it is. Let's see what happens when I try to steal the screen.
okay. Okay.
Oh, it took something. There we go. Okay, I got a ring around it. So I prompted and responded to a couple of these things, and just to give you an overview of the questions I was asking, then I can take a
Hmm.
look at what got generated. Probably should have done this the other way though. Let me share this the other way, so when I start opening up other things, it will
Okay, I'm
it'll
gonna okay. There we go.
you also.
Okay, I stopped my sharing. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah, no, that didn't. It wasn't a question of helping or not helping. It's just that
Oh,
this is one application. I'm going to open up some files in another application,
oh,
and they won't show up if I don't share them also or share the screen overall. So I took a look at some of the systems thinkers from the essentially the 60s through the through the I guess Derek's still alive, so through now, and came
mm,
up with a comparative analysis. Then
oh,
I extended it to David Hall. Actually, David Hall was from the early 60s. He was one of the first people who wrote a book on systems engineering.
ah,
And then I added the current Nkosi analysis or into Nkosi into that discussion process.
uh-huh.
And then I just started looking around for who additional thinkers might be that I should take a look at.
Huh.
So the kind of things that it generated, we're just taking a look at comparing and contrasting the definitions, activities, and deliverables. It generated a open or not open. Oh, there it is. Okay, it's over here. Go over here, and there it goes. So it obviously, generated a piece, and it goes through and gave some background on the individuals and some of their thought processes. But one of the things that is quite insightful is generates a table down here somewhere.
Uh-huh.
There it is. There it is. So it'll
Ah,
allow you to take a look at, side by side, what the philosophical aspects of them are, the kinds of things that get delivered out of their processes, and some philosophy behind it.
uh-huh.
So, sort of take a look at the early uh, application. So Churchman and Checkland
Uh-huh.
were more driven by the system science side of things and uh, the holistic side of the activities that are associated with systems. And as you get down in time with Wymore, who ties it, he generated a mathematical approach to analyzing systems and then engineering off of that. He was in the engineering side of things, and Hitchens
Hmm.
was also an engineering side person,
Hmm.
right? So they added this kind, mathematical underpinning, and Hitchens sort of brought on a analogy for technical solutions to have an aspect of biological solutions, the
Okay.
whole life cycle for systems in the technological sense. And he ended up being able to talk about drivers for the technology itself evolving and dying off as technology changes. And again,
So,
go ahead.
no, no, keep going. I'm sorry.
I'm just going to say that. So then it was able to pull out, how do the four thinkers think about these aspects of systems thinking and the systems approach as it moves forward, and
Hmm.
uh,
Hmm.
and their ability to define problems that are trying to be solved. So it was pretty interesting. It gets more interesting as sort of add additional people to this with the
Hmm.
time scope associated with it. And I don't have an overall summary for it yet, either from the AI or from my own personal perspective of this. I'm not sure of exactly how I'm going to try to drive that forward. Uh, but it does generate a conclusion, and talks about the things that these four gentlemen brought into the discussion.
Hmm.
So let me see where I can jump forward to. Is this there? No. Okay, so it must be over here. Uh, so I'm going to jump ahead and just say, so who else besides those authors were of interest? So you obviously went back to Burton Lamphy, Forrester, and Ramo. So
Mm.
obviously Burton Lamphy was GST, Forrester was System Dynamics, Ramo was
Right,
the
right.
first started doing systems engineering. He's the R and TRW. And I did not know of Harold Chestnut, so I got to go take a look for his works. And I have read of Good and Maycall, but haven't found the book yet. So I have to
Uh-huh,
go back
uh-huh.
finding that the book. But this is right around the early time when systems engineering was being brought out into the open from the organizations that had started using it during World War II, and were starting to try to formalize it into educational centers.
Uh-huh,
Hmm.
uh-huh.
So that's where they I believe came about and put the book together as for the coursework they were using.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So again, the thing that I'm finding interesting is that the AI system can hold more sources in its head at one time than I can, obviously,
Yeah.
right?
Oh yeah.
It draws information together that would be, difficult for me to try to pull on. Now the question is, what do I do with it? What can I do with it?
Oh,
And how can I make other people sort of try thinking down some of these lines with it?
can
Uh,
can you open that back up, Bruce?
which one, the additional
The
people, or
the one, well, the first one that you had open.
sure? This open in default app. There we go.
Can you export that to a PDF and send it to me?
I could, yeah. It's an ODT file. You can open it in Word.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I really want a PDF.
Oh, because you want to be able to feed it to something else. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. I'll do that in the background. So let's see, what else did I? So the next thing that I tried to do was to talk about how systems engineering actually fits into rather than just a product development cycle, into a business cycle associated with product development.
Mm.
So like I said, I'll do that. No, not gonna like me
Oh, you
now.
got net logo homepage.
Yeah. What did I just do? Okay, let's see. Oh, you know what it just did? It just don't undo that. Let's undo that because I don't want to save it. Commercial organization. There we are. Okay. So let's just do that, seeing that it seems to be doing the right thing. There we go. Okay. Uh, so now it talks about, what a typical stage gate process is. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Nope.
basically stage
Mm.
gates are set up as decision points for management to impact uh, the activities associated with idea generation within an organization through implementation and disposal.
Hmm.
So it talks about the development stages, idea screening, scoping, etc. And then I have it essentially talking about how does systems engineering fit into these pieces, and where does it live within. So this is it just describing a process that's
Hmm.
a
Hmm.
generalized stage gate process. And so that one, and who takes the leads during each of the stages. And one of the problems is that I'm finding and that I'm trying to understand how to communicate is
Uh-huh.
that Incozy is pushing the idea that systems engineering has to be involved in all of these activities. And my perspective is that you need to be able to do systems analysis and systems design in most of them, and surely systems thinking in all of them, but definitely not systems engineering, which I believe is a reductive activity rather than a holistic activity.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So that's the sort of the background that I have come out with from the readings I've done. So here it talks about, the organizational leads end up being something like marketing and R&D, and R&D obviously is not a systems engineering activity
Hmm. Hmm.
by definition of the idea that it's an applied, potentially either a scientific or applied science activity.
Hmm.
And then how would something like Incozy systems engineering support these specific activities? And surely there's the thought process of understanding uh, how well the requirements are developed during those activities, which is important to systems engineering, but it's important to systems engineering and not necessarily to the activity, because systems engineering doesn't get involved until later. And I guess it's finding independent. Well, this is where I said earlier, Gene. I'm not sure if I asked the question in a way that it's feeding back to me some of the thoughts that I have about how systems engineering should be involved, or whether it's finding that independently.
Mm.
Right. So that's why I asked that question when I sent you the note the other day. So this seems to be supportive of my general thinking about systems engineering surely not being a lead, but probably needs to be involved. But again, the specific question that I asked was pretty wide open, which is which organizational entities take the lead during the stage gate business project process just described,
Mm.
that previous description of stage gate processes, and where and how does the Incozy version of systems engineering support the stage gate developments. So I'm not sure. I mean, the fact that I'm telling it that I think that Incozy supports the steps makes me think that I may have preloaded it. Think about, right? Think about as a support activity. However, when you get back down to here, uh, where you get to development stage, um, and the implementation phases, it shows systems engineering being more directly involved.
Mm.
So that's right. Right now, I'm sort of trying to balance. So I'm trying to understand the impact of the way I ask the question, and I'll probably feed this answer back in and specifically ask the question, how leading was the question, right? To see what comes back out of that. Because essentially, the organizational lead is, never specifically systems engineering. Because
Hmm.
organizations hold systems engineering as a subdivision of their engineering activity, not the lead of their systems engineering activity. So it makes sense to me that this is the answer, But again, I'm not sure whether or not it came up with that answer because of the way I asked the question.
A little bit of bias there, huh?
Right. Well, I'm concerned that there may be bias. Again, it was a pretty generic question, all things considered. It says you gave me the life cycle, and I just
Uh-huh.
want to know what you think about Nkosi fitting into it, right? But one of
Right.
the questions I asked, which is here, was where and how does the Nkosi version of systems engineering fit into the stage gate business process?
Uh-huh.
And I'll have to go back and pull it. But the answer it gave me with that wording was systems engineering tried to lead everything. So,
Interesting.
this one actually biased it in a way that answered the question the opposite of this, where systems engineering was subsidiary to other organizations. It drove systems engineering to be a lead for everything. So I have to take a look. I think I downloaded that answer, but I can feed it back in and make sure I get it, so I can at least discuss how biased the answer was.
Uh-huh.
So that's what I was up to this week on that, based on Gene's suggestion last week.
I like it. Just,
Yeah.
In terms of your comment about bias, I'm finding that more and more I type a question and then I back up and
Right.
type it again because I'm realizing that my question is biased in terms of the answer I'm looking for,
Right.
as opposed to actually using open-ended questions that
Yep.
are not driving it in one way or another. Because I'm biased,
Sure.
my questions are usually biased, and
Yep.
therefore the answers I get are usually biased.
Right. Yeah.
But
It's something you have to actually think your way through to stop it from happening.
so
So,
that's definitely
you don't have to send me that PDF. I was just going to do something with it at the moment, but we'll do something next time
okay. Very good.
after I spend some more time with getrecall.ai and um,
Yeah, I'm afraid to even start with that because I'm in the middle of a bunch of things, and that'll just suck up every waking hour.
well, it's weird though because a month ago I told some people that I was now wedded to the brain and I'll never change. I'll never switch again. And I've switched note-taking apps about once a year for the last umpteen years, and now here I am again,
Yep.
about to
right.
jump ship. Because, and the part that got me was all of the old note-taking apps have AI bolted onto it,
Right.
and Get Recall AI was developed with AI from the ground up, as
Yep.
opposed to bolted on later. And
Mhm.
Right.
so,
So then the question really becomes whether or not you can get that imported into Recall AI, so you don't lose any of the information or thoughts that you've had.
correct.
Yeah.
And then they're saying that in a future release not too far away, they're going to allow me to do AI queries across my entire knowledge base,
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
as opposed to queries on individual pieces that I've loaded. So
Right.
we'll see.
Hmm.
Oh,
Mind blowing.
Yep.
it is every week.
Yes.
Yep.
And,
Yeah. I'm trying to. Oh, you
and
know
more to
what?
come.
I did have one thing that Dave, did I give this to you the last week when or when is this, on Monday? Was that linked to the podcast?
I did see it. Maybe I missed it, Bruce.
Oh, okay. Because I don't know if we were talking about vibing in AI activities, but there was a podcast on the Free Libre open source software podcast with some of the initiators of some open source AI software.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know if you guys would be interested in that. Uh, I put it
Sure.
somewhere so I remember to give it to you guys. Now I got to
Here we
figure out
go.
it's right there. Actually, I think I had it set up to give it to you on Monday.
Mm,
What's the date of Monday? Was
Was it,
the
wasn't it Tuesday?
Tuesday?
yeah.
Yeah, right. So
Okay.
3 days ago, like 26, maybe 27th. Let's see what I can.
27th.
2025, 27. Oh, okay. Let's see. I rebooted once, right? Yeah, I did. Oh, there it is. Okay. I'm going to drop this in for you if you're interested. You
Yeah.
can look and chat. Where's our chat? Stop sharing. Find the chat. There it is. Again, in some ways it's sort of detailed uh, because they're software people,
Uh-huh.
but it also gives some insight into the way they've been thinking about. I think one of them came out of Google, so he's got some knowledge of the Google products.
Uh-huh.
This gives some insight into the way that it's been developed over time.
Mm, awesome.
So again, throwing more wood on the fire. All right,
Okay.
very interesting. Okay,
Well, this has been a good day.
yeah.
Yes.
We'll see what happens. Well, let me look before I open my mouth and stick my foot in it. Yes. There will be a meeting next week on Tuesday and on Thursday,
Okay.
Good.
and I'll be there.
And yeah,
I'll look forward to it.
on Tuesday this week too, which you just weren't there.
Well, I was there for a few minutes.
Well, you were there before we were.
All right. I'm sorry.
That's
It's
great.
okay.
Oh, that's fine.
All right.
Like I said, part
Okay.
of this.
Good night.
Yep. Take care, everyone. Have a good
Take care.
weekend.
Next
Okay.
week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.